Hello and welcome back to another episode of your favourite educational podcast. In today's episode, we will be reviewing some historical and colloquial definitions of aesthetic, and I will be devising my own, or rather, I will be defining my own.
Oh. That's it, I'm not going.
So I said in my last video about finding things you like and how to actually identify the things you like, the actual core elements of what you like. You have to make a collection and then identify from the collection which things reoccur. I have things that I like dotted all over the internet. And what I wanted to do with you today is compile them all in one place so I can see them all, so I can review it all at the same time. I have Instagram and all the things I like on Instagram, Pinterest, and I have all the things I like on Pinterest. My notes app, which I'll be showing you, which is terrifying because I feel like if I had committed, I'm not saying I have, but if I had committed murder, if the confession would be anywhere, it would be in there. So be aware that there might be some jumping round of the video footage while I try and edit out anything too exposing. Similar with Pinterest, similar with the internet. I don't have any illegal downloads. I don't watch porn. I'm not in an online chat room with children. So there's literally nothing incriminating. Order of today is 1, we'll go through some definitions of aesthetic and what it means in a philosophical sense versus a colloquial sense, and what definition best fits what we're actually trying to do today, saving it all to one place, to Sublime, presenting it to myself and trying to identify what it is that is actually the things that I like. Part 1, some definitions of aesthetic. The original concept of aesthetics as a distinct philosophical discipline was first written by German philosopher Baumgarten in 1735. The English translation is Reflections on Poetry. It's written in Latin originally, but translated to English. In this paper, he describes an aesthetic as science of perception. The way he describes it is there's 2 ways of comprehending something. It's a logical comprehension or it's a sensible comprehension. He then further went on in 1750 to write Aesthetica. I don't have the English translation of this one. I have the Latin version. I don't have the English translation, so what I was happy to do was translate bit by bit each phrase to try and work out what was being said. On the very first page, he gives his definition of aesthetic. Aesthetics, the theory of liberal arts, lower level epistemology, the art of beautiful thinking, the art of the analogue of reason, is the science of sensible cognition. Baumgarten here is saying aesthetics deals with knowledge gained through the senses. What we see, hear, feel, imagine, perceive, rather than with abstract or logical thinking. Then we have Kant, my good friend Kant, who says that aesthetic appreciation requires disinterest, was the main concept I was talking about in my last video, where Baumgarten says that aesthetics deals with knowledge gained from the senses. Kant redefines it, relocates the definition from cognition to judgment of taste, grounding beauty in a feeling of pleasure or displeasure, which is subjective in origin, but universal in assent. Pleasing, but not just on a personal preference level. It would universally be accepted as pleasing to everyone. Whereas, I would say in modern terms, it's a category. It's not really necessarily pleasing or displeasing. It's a group of visually similar things is what I would define it as. There's not this same idea of universal beauty. In modern terms, something aesthetic is visually compelling, stylistically distinctive. It produces some kind of mood. If it fits into a category, the category we would know as the aesthetic. In today's episode, due to the chronically online nature of myself, I am going to blend all of these definitions. I think all are useful and all are interesting. But as it is a blend of all of these definitions, I feel it is appropriate to name it myself. And we are naming it the aSHthetic. Yes, you heard that right. The aSHthetic. Shall I say it again? The aSHthetic. One more time. aSHthetic. Say it together with me now. aSHthetic. Part 2. Defining the aSHthetic. Welcome to my desktop. Let me introduce you to Sublime. This is Sublime. Right now, what we're doing, I'm going to gather the things that I like and I'm going to save them all to Sublime. So firstly, your Pinterest homepage is Pinterest's idea of what your aesthetic is, right? A collection of related ideas to what you've already pinned. This is my Pinterest homepage. It's everything that I've saved on my Pinterest everywhere, so it's not particularly cohesive. It's what Pinterest thinks I like, and to be honest, it's pretty accurate. But this is not an exercise in going and finding more things to like. We are looking at the things that we have liked. To do that, we must visit my Pinterest profile. So this is my Pinterest. We've got art with a P at the end, which I haven't actually noticed until now. Got art source, which has no E at the end, which I did notice. That was an aesthetic decision. 26, stuff, concepts, footwear, home, tattoos. Okay, for the purposes of finding something that I like aesthetically, the most interesting ones, they're going to be art and source, I think. These are going to be the most visually compelling. So this is my source board. I adore it, very carefully curated. So as you can see here, it's just a bit of a higgledy-piggledy collection of ideas, and it's all pinned in chronological order, okay? But the good thing with Sublime is, which I'll go on to show you, is that it's not temporally ordered. You can sort and order however you like. If we're doing it to try and find similar ideas, I can sort based on things that are similar to each other. I'm going to save my source board to Sublime. So I have my little extension here. I'm going to save it to my library, and I'll save it with a screenshot just to visually show myself what we're looking at, right? Just a little visual aid for myself. Similarly, we have this one, which is my art. This is my art board. Photos, graphics, drawings, art. The idea is that it's visually appealing to me. I'm going to add my entire Pinterest to the Sublime library because it's all important to me. Full screen. I use Pinterest incredibly often. 9 hours ago was the oldest. It's currently 11 o'clock. So that was 2 a.m. So now I've got something saved in our library. Let's actually go to Sublime and create our canvas. I have my little home page here, okay? You can see that I literally just saved this, okay? And what are we going to name it? Look back in your notes if you've forgotten. The aSHthetic. You can't make this the aesthetic part. This is about gathering information and showing a collection. It's not about making this bit look pretty because you get stuck on the pretty. You get stuck on the pretty aspect of it. You just got to do it. So these are all the things that I just saved with you just now. Profile, got source, art. Here we are, okay? So the most aesthetic board on my Pinterest is going to be the art one, okay? The source board, which you should know the definition of if you are up to date with the syllabus, it's more of a fashion term. Source is indescribable, ineffable swag. Whereas my art board, it's literally aesthetics. It's all visually appealing to me. Let's go to art. Okay, so here we are. Lots of information, writing, words, animals, green. Here we are back at the aSHthetic. I've just saved a couple of ideas from my art board, a couple of pictures that I wanted to add. These are the pictures that I've added. They're visually appealing to me. For example, this one in particular. I have no idea what it says. I don't think I've even read it, but I like the colours. Let's add those colours to our mood board. I use a colour picker. I'm sure you've all heard of a colour picker. This is the colour. Also this colour. Let's go right there. I also love this colour. Not in a particularly wearable fashion, but just aesthetically I like it. Kant's definition of aesthetic. You have to be disinterested. If I'm thinking about liking a colour for its wearability, that's not disinterest. Thinking about how it functions as a wearable colour. I'm going to pick out this colour as well, actually. Ooh, what one should we go for? This one? Oh, yeah. If you cast your minds back to a few mere moments ago, where we introduced Baumgarten, aesthetics is the science of the senses, sensible cognition. is what he called it. I'm going to add Baumgarten to my board. I got a message the other day saying, where do you find all your academic texts? If you have a university password, obviously you can search via your institution. But if the text is really old, it's going to be public domain. Where I find all my academic texts, I find them all in the Internet Archive. It's my favourite place. If you want an academic text that's more modern, if you email them, they will likely give it to you because they don't get any of the money that you pay for that online journal. This podcast is for all those highly intelligent people who didn't go to university and don't know the ins and outs of finding scientific texts. You can find them all on Google Scholar. The Ideology of the aSHthetic, Terry Eagleton from Oxford University. It's hidden behind a paywall. If you find Mr. Terry Eagleton, there we are, Terry Eagleton, literary critic. Aren't we all? He's now currently at Lancaster University. So let's find him. There you go, you have his contact details, email him and ask for his paper, and he'll probably give it to you. But for the purpose of today, something I use all the time, you don't need to pay for anything. Time is money, and anything is free if you want to spend enough time looking for it. I spend a lot of time looking for stuff. I know where everything is on the internet. I am chronically online. My screen time is chronically high, pathologically high, some may argue, because I find everything myself. I don't have other people to look for it for me. I don't have researchers. There's just little old me, and I don't want to pay for it. And tip for you is find all of your academic texts from the Internet Archive, if they're old. In the last episode, I pulled up Kant's book. I got that from the Internet Archive. They're all free. This is what the Internet Archive looks like, and you can just download them all. I already have it downloaded. I don't need to download it, but I will add it to Sublime. Here we are, back in the aSHthetic. This one here is from Reflections on Poetry, so I'm just going to add a little note to myself here that this is also, oops, I added it twice, not to worry. This here is the 1750 text. This is the screenshot, the definition. And just for myself, we have here the English translation because I'm not particularly fluent in Latin. The next thing I wanted to go through my Instagram. There are two parts of the Instagram aesthetic. There's my own things, the things that I create, but there's also the things that I like. This is my Instagram page. These are all of my saved items. I'm going to save my Instagram to my aSHthetic and see what Sublime has to say about it. Something else that I wanted to add here is my notes app. These are my notes. I've completely changed iVape now. Most of them don't mean anything. They're just things that I think and I have to write down. We've got a shopping list, a Christmas list, a Manderland Christmas special glasses chain worn by an auntie. Assert dominance by doing a wheelie on a Lime bike is something I wrote down, apparently. I'm going to add this to my Sublime. The great thing that Sublime does is it will find your aesthetic. So you can go on the related ideas. This is exactly what I was talking about. I mean, it's Lime bike as in it's taken lime quite literally. This is exactly what I was thinking. I'm smiling because I wasn't prepared for how cool this would be. So yeah, we're adding this to the library. I'm going to add it to the aSHthetic as well. I'm going to add both to the aSHthetic actually. Assert dominance by doing a wheelie on a Lime bike was just the note that I made. And then this is the corresponding aesthetic. That information I found from the 7th of January 2026. Okay, that was a couple of months ago, but it had no visual representation. If I put it into Sublime, it can visually represent exactly the kind of aesthetic I mean. And that's That's exactly, this is what I'm talking about. This is excellent. This is just a very brief insight into what the aSHthetic is. Okay, just looking at this here, we've already got 3 sources. We've got Pinterest, Instagram, and my notes, my personal notes, and we've got some PDFs so that I'm looking at it all together. So we've got our color schemes here, and actually what you'll find is this color here, this lime color here, and this pink here, in case you didn't notice, are the same colours here. A lime coloured bike and pink trousers. And that's the beauty of having all the ideas put into one space, because you know, you have your Pinterest ideas, but they're all on Pinterest and they're separate to your Instagram ideas, they're separate to your notes app, everything's separate. So just putting it in one place allows you to just identify where the common places are. Building a reference system, which is a topical thing to talk about now. Mood boards and building a reference system. What with Mason Margiela releasing their references in a Dropbox called Mason Margiela folders.
Margiela just shared a Dropbox of their internal documents, and Marc Jacobs just did a collection based on references to the past, all of which he shared transparently with the audience after the show. Under the direction of Glenn Martins, the House of Margiela established that the brand's Line 2 was going to exist to share intangible products, collaborations with figures from art and culture. And this February, Margiela has released these insider documents to the general public, including literally their mood boards, media that inspired their collections, press releases, and they've even unearthed archival content to share with the public.
And I heard this by Ryan Finn being called hypertransparency. It was this video, right? Fashion's sudden hypertransparency. It's not giving power to influencers or people on the internet to speculate, basically. Someone in a position of authority on the internet will have some kind of idea, some kind of interpretation, no matter whether it's right or wrong, but because they're in a place of authority, and if, for example, Mason Margiela haven't released their sources, if there is no reference, who is there to say it's right or wrong? And their authority is what makes it true. What I think the sort of hyper-transparency Ryan is talking about is reclaiming the narrative.
I think it's really valuable for brands to offer a sense of certainty at this time as well. I think that could be the point of offering this amount of transparency, is with all the ambiguity and confusion and muddling going on in culture, with all of the misrepresentations of what goes on in fashion and all of the conversations and conjecture about what the runway means, it helps the luxury customer feel more secure, I feel, to see these more concrete explanations of what it all means, instead of trusting and relying on people who are just trying to make content or cultural commentary online about what goes on the runway. I think it's a really critical return to reality that it's kind of brands trying to reposition themselves in this digital context with so much cultural commentary online.
Whereas instead, what I wrote in my notes was actually that it's curated transparency, because Margiela can tell you whatever they want. It doesn't necessarily have to be true. That is down to Margiela, of course, because it is their collection at the end of the day, but it's still curated. It's still not necessarily what their references are. For example, here in the aSHthetic, I'm not claiming that any of these are my own. I've not come up with any of these ideas. Whereas what Mason Margiela is doing with the folders Dropbox, the references given to us are all Mason Margiela references, but I think it does inspire mood board type culture, and I do like the idea of publishing references. I've seen smaller brands do it. So for example, Lexola and Fruity Booty have Pinterest boards of their inspiration. They're not pictures that they took themselves, they're not things they designed themselves, they're accrediting it to this is what inspired our designs. I've actually downloaded the Dropbox so we can have a look at it. They have their images that you can see here, and you also have a little Dropbox preview for the exhibition, right? What I think is more interesting and what Margiela isn't doing, what inspired this? So yes, this is inspiring the exhibition, but what inspired this in the first place? Margiela, as I said before, the tabby is inspired by the Japanese footwear. This is my Dropbox. This is my Margiela folder. What I create personally is inspired by these references, and I think that's what's most interesting about it. I can basically turn this into a website. If you would like, in the description of this video, you can come see it. You can come see it for yourself and peruse. We've linked this with this, and we've linked this with this. This is the beginning of the aSHthetic. The next stage, which isn't really involved in the definition of aesthetic because it's to do with self-interest, is actually finding what you personally think you can adopt, what I can actually take from this and use as my own. That's what I was saying with the colours here. So I really like this pink colour here, green colour here. Would they be colours that I would actually have in my wardrobe? No. I think that is the next stage of making the aesthetic practical. So that is everything I have time for today. I really hope you enjoyed that video. Please do come again soon. Thank you very much to Sublime. Don't forget to go and check them out. That's the aSHthetic. Bye.
Oh. Ah. That's it, I'm not going.
I hate microphones. I hate them so much. Pussy.
Some human skills will be commoditized, but human beings will not. We are un-LLMable.